بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So tonight, inshallah, we won't continue from the same book, Zad al-Mustaqni', as that class will continue, inshallah, when Ali comes back, bi'idhnillah. But for the sake of benefit, inshallah, we'll read from Kitab al-Jami', the chapter of Islamic adab, Islamic morals and manners, from the book Buloog Al-Maram. The book Buloog Al-Maram by Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, rahimahullah. In Buloog Al-Maram, it's a book about hadith ahkam, where the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ containing issues of fiqh, the halal and the haram. But at the end of the book, the last section of the book is a section on adab, and it's called Kitab al-Jami'. So there are many explanations of the book. This explanation here is from Sheikh Salih Fawzan. There's an explanation from Sheikh Uthaymeen, Sheikh Abdullah Bassam. So there are many explanations. So for the sake of benefit, inshallah, we'll read from a mixture. Some from Sheikh Uthaymeen, some from Sheikh Salih Fawzan. Like this, inshallah. So first he says, Bab al-Adab, the chapter of adab, the Islamic character or morals or manners. And firstly, we have to know what adab is. As the ulama, they define exactly what adab is. So قال في الفتح, the definition given in Fath al-Bari, the explanation of Sahih al-Bukhari. الأدب استعمال ما يحمد قولا وفعلا وهو الأخذ بمكارم الأخلاق, is to behave in a way, whether it's from statements or actions, and it is for a person to behave with the best type of mannerisms, the best mannerism possible that they can possibly take on. And the importance of adab is found in the Quran. It's not like something that's not, Islam doesn't encourage. Islam encourages us to have good behavior. And Allah said in the Quran, قال تعالى وإنك لعلى خلق عظيم. In Surah Al-Qalam, the 4th ayah. It says in the tafsir, على دين عظيم, that your religion is great. Indeed, you are upon a great standard of character. And it says either meaning the deen, the religion that you practice is a deen, a religion that is great, or ala adbin azim, your character, your manners, the way you behave. And Allah was addressing the Prophet ﷺ in this ayah. And from the sunnah that shows us the importance of adab, manners, and the way the Muslim is to behave, is the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, when someone asked her about the manners of the Prophet ﷺ and his behavior. So when they asked her radiallahu anha about the behavior and the conduct of the Prophet ﷺ, she said, Alasta taqra al-Quran, you don't read the Quran? So the man said, قال بلى, of course I read the Quran. فقالت فإن خلق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان القرآن. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, indeed the behavior or the manners of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was the Quran. He acted in accordance to the commands and the prohibitions that were in the Quran. Implementation of the revelation. So next, we have two types of adab, and wa'al adab. Two types of adab, or قسمان. الأدب نوعان. adab ma'Allah wa adab ma'ibadillah. For a person to have good behavior, or that his manners are good or her manners are good with Allah. How is this? فَالْأَدَبْ مَعَ اللَّهِ تَعْظِيم. It's ta'ظim, to glorify Allah. To glorify Allah shows that a person has good adab when dealing with Allah Jalla wa Ala. And that they don't proceed, they don't go against Allah's commands. طيب وكذلك لا يعصي الله لا سرا ولا علنا. Also, that a person doesn't disobey Allah, not secretly and not in public. لأن الذي يعصي الله لم يتأدب مع الله. And this is from the explanation of Sheikh Salih al-Thameen, Muhammad bin Salih al-Thameen. He said, because the person who disobeys Allah, he has not shown good manners with his Lord Jalla wa Ala. So adab with Allah, having manners with Allah is what? هو عبارة عن القيام بطاعته وتعظيمه. It is basically we're talking about implementing and obeying Allah Jalla wa Ala and glorifying Allah and staying away from disobedience. طيب, the second type of adab is adab with the creation. Al-adab ma'a ibadillah. And this is basically the adab with the people. How we treat people, how we speak to people. So he says, هو فعل ما يجمله ويزينه واجتناب ما يدنسه ويشينه. It is that a person behaves in a way that will beautify his appearance. It beautifies him or her. And they stay away from things that will stain their appearance. It will stain the look that's given off, the impression that's given off to other people. They do the things that will beautify their appearance, their presence. Their presence is beautified by their character, by the manners, the way they carry themselves. And they stay away from the things that will stain that presentation or how people look at the person. And then he says, كُلُّ مَا يُوَافِقُ الْمَرُؤَةِ. And it is everything that is in line with the muru'ah. And the muru'ah could vary from place to place. Muru'ah can vary from place to place, from city to city, from time to time. It's something that's based on the people in a certain area. What is accepted, and it's not necessarily always something haram. It could be something permissible. But maybe it's not appropriate for a person of a certain status to do that thing. For example, in Saudi, in Mecca, you don't see the imams of the masjid eating outside, like walking down the street eating, not like a bag of chips, or you won't see them eating outside. It's not that it's haram to eat outside, but according to the society, right, it's looked at in a certain way. Then you might go to another country and it might not be a problem. So you can't really base it on Saudi. You can't base it on this country. Depending on where a person is in that specific time will determine the muru'ah. Some things might be standard, but some things are specific to place and time. So wherever a person is, it's important to know the people, so that you don't go against the custom of the people, as the custom is not thrown in the trash 100%. The custom does have a place in the religion. Al-Ada. It has a place in the religion. So it's important to know the custom of the people that you're living amongst, so that you don't go against that custom and possibly you give yourself a bad look, we'll say, for lack of better words. People might look down or consider it something that is blameworthy, and it's not necessarily haram. Right? طيب. So in this book, he misses 2 chapters. Well, there are numerous chapters. From the chapters, there's a chapter warning against masawi al-akhlaq, against the negative behavior traits. So there's a hadith عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الظلم ظلمات يوم القيامة. متفق عليه. That Ibn Umar said that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, oppression will be darkness on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. That oppression will be darkness on the Day of Judgment. Tayyib. Number one, what is oppression? And they always define, the ulama always define what they're talking about before they move on, to make sure that the reader, the listener, everybody's on the same page, so that we agree on what we're talking about before we just move on. If I'm talking about one thing and you see oppression to be something else, then it's a dead argument. So he says, الظلم وضع شيء في غير موضعه. To put something in other than its place. Something has a specific place that it's supposed to be. A person takes it and they put it in another place. It's out of place, we said. To take something and make it out of place. It's not in order. Something that's not in place. And it has more meanings. So now he says the different types of dhulm. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, oppression will be darkness on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So now there are different types of oppression. An-Nur al-Awwal. The first one, ظلم الشرك وهو أعظم الظلم. Oppression, the oppression of a person making shirk with Allah Jalla wa Ala, putting partners with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And why is it shirk? If we said that dhulm, oppression, is to put something basically where it doesn't belong, right? He said Sumiya dhulman. Why? How is shirk oppression? Basically, a person they've taken their worship, and the worship is supposed to be for Allah alone, right? So they've taken their worship and they've made their worship for something other than Allah. So the worship is outside of its correct place, right? As the definition of worship is, the definition of dhulm is to put something in its improper place. And that's what he says. لأنه وضع للعبادة في غير موضعها. A person have taken their worship, which should be only for Allah, and they've made their worship for something other than Allah. Therefore, it is oppression, dhulm. And this type of oppression does not harm Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And Allah said in the Quran, قال تعالى إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. In Surah Luqman, ayah 13. Allah called shirk oppression. He named shirk oppression. He said, indeed, shirk is a great form of oppression. In Surah Luqman. Tayyib. So the first type of oppression, and it is the greatest type, is that a person puts partners with Allah Jalla wa Ala in his worship, or in her worship. And why is that? Because they have taken something and removed it from its proper place, which is worship that should be only for Allah, and they have placed that worship or worship other than Allah. Therefore, the worship is out of place. طيب النوع الثاني ظلم الناس في أعراضهم أو في أموالهم أو في أبدانهم. Oppression of people, to oppress people. And oppressing people could be through, as he says here, في أعراضهم, in their honor, slander, backbiting, or في أموالهم, in their money, their wealth, taking someone's wealth, and the person has no right to take their wealth. أو في أبدانهم, or by harming them physically. Oppression. How is this? He says بأن يتعدى عليهم بغير حق, that a person transgresses the bounds. They transgress upon a person, whether it's with their tongue, talking about a person, slandering, backbiting, tail carrying, or they take their money, they transgress on the person's wealth by taking their money that they have no right to take, or doing bodily harm. They have no right. He says, وَهَذَا ظُلْمٌ خَطِيرٌ. And this is a dangerous type. This is a dangerous type of oppression. When Nabiyyu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yaqul, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in a hadith, اتَّقِ الدَّعْوَةَ الْمَظْلُومِ فَإِنَّهُ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٌ. But the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, beware of the dua of the oppressed person. aware of the person that's being oppressed, making dua against you. Why? فَإِنَّهُ لَيْسَ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٍ. Because there's nothing blocking that person's dua that's being oppressed. There's nothing between that dua and Allah answering that dua. There's nothing between them for the oppressed one. And this is the danger of oppression. And he says here, حَتَّى الْكَافِرُ لَا يَجُوزُ الظُّلْمُ. Even a non-Muslim, it's not permissible to oppress a non-Muslim. They say they're not Muslim, so I'm just going to, take this and do this to them. That's not permissible. As the Prophet ﷺ said, fear the da'wah, the dua of the one who is being oppressed, because there's nothing blocking that dua, that prayer, from being answered. There's nothing between that prayer and Allah answering that prayer. And Allah said in another ayah, قال تعالى وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Allah said, don't think that Allah is negligent of what the oppressors do to people. Because we might see somebody being oppressive and they get away. It looks to us like they're getting away with it. Nothing's happening. They're still going on. Maybe they're still being what we think to be successful in the dunya. It looks like their life is going good. And they're oppressing people. Maybe they're taking money, speaking about people, don't harm it. They could be doing anything. And to us, it may look like they're still being blessed. We might think that they're still being blessed. But Allah says in Surah Ibrahim, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Don't think that Allah is not aware. Don't think that Allah isn't aware of what the oppressors do. He said, إِنَّمَا يُؤَخِّرُهُمْ لِيَوْمٍ تَشْخَصُ فِيهِ الْأَبْصَارِ. He said, but we just give them respite. We just delay the time until that day, Yawm al-Qiyamah, where everyone will be held accountable. So this is the second type of oppression between the people, and this is a dangerous one. He goes on and says, وَظُلْمُ النَّاسِ لَا يَسْقُطْ عَنِ الْإِنسَانِ وَلَوْ تَابَ إِلَى اللَّهِ لَا بُدْ أَنْ يُسَامِحُهُ. That when a person oppresses another human being, it's not just about making tawbah only. A person say, I repent to Allah, and they have to seek the forgiveness of the one they oppress also. And this is a serious thing, that they need to seek a person's pardon that they oppressed. And if they stole something, or if they took something from them, then they need to return the item or whatever it was that was taken. طيب. He says, if they don't return those things, or if they don't seek the person's forgiveness, not to say that they shouldn't make tawbah. They need to make tawbah, but they also have to return the rights of the person that they oppressed. He mentions another hadith, كما جاء في الحديث, about the man who will come Yawm al-Qiyamah with a lot of righteous actions. أن الرجل يأتي بأعمال صالحة أمثال الجبال. A man will come Yawm al-Qiyamah with a lot of good deeds the size of mountains. Plenty of good deeds. And it will be said, ثُمَّ يَأْتِي وَقَدْ ضَرَبَ هَذَا وَظَلَمَ هَذَا وَأَخَذَ مَالَ هَذَا وَشَتَمَ هَذَا. And at the same time, the man with all those good deeds, he hit this person with no right. He transgressed physical harm. وَظَلَمَ هَذَا, he oppressed this person in some sense. وَأَخَذَ مَالَ هَذَا, and he took this person's money without right. وَشَتَمَ هَذَا, and he cursed this person, was speaking about this person, disrespecting this person, calling them out of their name or whatever, with the tongue. It says in the hadith, فَيُؤْخَذْ لِهَذَا مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ. So what will happen? It says, وَهَذَا مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ. It will be taken from his good deeds will be taken away from him. The one who had deeds the size of a mountain, his good deeds will be taken away. It will be given to those people who he oppressed in the dunya, in this life. Alright? His deeds will be taken away Yawm al-Qiyamah, and his good deeds will be given to those people that he oppressed in the dunya. It says, so if he runs out of good deeds to give away, right? His good deeds. We say the Prophet ﷺ said the man had deeds the size of jibal. Not a jabal, jibal. mountains, not one mountain, mountains, plenty of deeds. He said, and when he runs out of those deeds, given away to the people he oppressed, he says, أُخِذَ مِنْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ, that their bad deeds will be given to him in order to make up for the oppression that he did in the dunya, in the life, when they were living. He oppressed the people so bad, Yawm al-Qiyamah they came, and in the dunya may have looked like that he was getting away with it. Right? But Yawm al-Qiyamah he came, and his good deeds that was stacked up like mountains were given to them. And when he ran out of good deeds to give to them, their bad deeds were given to him. It says, وَطُرِحَتْ عَلَيْهِ وَطُرِحَ فِي النَّارِ, and that person, their bad deeds will be thrown on his scale, on him, and he will be thrown in the hellfire. Ask Allah to protect us all from that state. So the first type of oppression was the oppression with a person oppressing, and it doesn't harm Allah, but it's called dhulm, which is shirk. That Allah called shirk, oppression, which is shirk, that a person puts partners with Allah Jalla wa Ala. The second form of oppression was the oppression between the creation. The oppression between the creation, that a person oppresses another person, either with their tongue, or by taking their money, or doing some type of bodily harm, physically. All three of these fall under the second type of oppression, between the creation, which is a serious one, because that oppression between the creation, a person needs to be pardoned, to seek Allah's forgiveness, and to ask the person that they oppressed to forgive them, so that they don't come Yawm al-Qiyamah, and that person that was oppressed in this life takes a person's good deeds, and if they run out of good deeds, and we don't want to be in that type of state. That's Allah salam al afiyah. Tayyib. An-Nur al-Thalith, the third type of oppression, ظُلْمُ الْعَبْدِ لِنَفْسِهِ, that a person may oppress his own self. A person may oppress their own self. They oppress themselves. How do they do this? First of all, is it possible to do this? Is it possible for a person to oppress himself? Tayyib. Allah said it's possible. قال تعالى فَمِنْهُمْ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. Surah Fatir. Ayah number 32. Allah says, some of them, they're from them, some of them who oppress themselves. There are some of them who oppress themselves. وَذَلِكَ بِالذُّنُوبِ وَالْمَعَاصِي, and that is by committing sins and disobeying Allah. This is a form of a person oppressing their own self by disobeying Allah and committing sins. He says, لِأَنَّ الْوَاجِبَ أَنَّ الْإِنسَانِ يُكْرِمُ نَفْسَ بِالطَّاعَةِ. What is obligatory upon a person is that they honor their own self. They have some dignity and they respect themselves by obeying Allah. By obeying Allah Jalla wa Ala and staying away from disobedience. So if a person does, he says, فَإِذَا أَسَاءَ إِلَيْهَا, if a person disobeys Allah and they don't protect themselves from disobeying Allah, and they allow themselves to follow their desires and disobey Allah, and they give everything that the desire, they give into the desire, their own desire, he says, فَقَدْ ظَلَمَهَا, they have oppressed their own soul. They've oppressed their own soul by giving into the desire. Tayyib. And Allah said about the one who cleanses his soul, فَعَلَيْكَ أَن تَطَهِّرَ نَفْسَكَ. He says, the Shaykh, it is upon a person to cleanse their soul. As Allah said in the Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Allah said, the successful one is the one who purifies their soul in Surah Al-Shams. يعني طهرها من الذنوب والمعاصي, meaning that they purify themselves from committing sins and disobeying Allah. And Allah said in the next ayat, وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And the one who basically commits sins, they have oppressed their own soul. They're in a great loss. They're in a great loss. The one who has not purified their soul, meaning they have not purified themselves from disobeying Allah, they are in a great loss. And both of those ayats are in Surah Al-Shams, ayat 9 and number 10. So we have three types of dhulm. The first one is between a person and their Lord, but they have to seek Allah's forgiveness for shirk. And shirk, putting partners with Allah, is not forgiven except with tawbah. A person has to repent before they die. Allah says, "Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushraka bih, wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha." Allah says He doesn't forgive that a person puts partners with Him, but He forgives other than that to whoever He chooses to forgive. The second type of dhulm was between the creation. A man oppresses a man oppresses a woman oppresses her husband oppresses his wife, parents oppress the children oppress the parents. Between the creation, people praying behind the imam oppress the imam Allah understand. Between the creation, the neighbors, the people we work with. And he says this type is also, of course we have to seek Allah's forgiveness, but also we need to seek the pardon of the person. That the person forgives us for our ignorance and whatever it was that we did. And the third type of oppression was a person between themselves and their Lord, where a person oppressed themselves by disobeying Allah Jalla wa Ala. And this oppression, this third one needs, of course, it needs to be, a person needs to seek repentance, make tawbah to Allah Jalla wa Ala, and hope that Allah forgives them Yawm al-Qiyamah. And this is the end of this first hadith. This first hadith, Al-Dhulm Dhulumat Yawm al-Qiyamah. The Prophet ﷺ said that oppression will be darkness on the day of judgment. But there's another hadith here. An Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. And these are hadith, both of these are hadith. They come in the chapter of basically the negative character traits that we're supposed to stay away from. Because there's another chapter with the positive things that we're supposed to take on. Okay, we have negative behavior and we have positive behavior. The negative behavior comes first in the book. Does anybody know why?
Because anything other than negative is positive.
Anything other than negative. But why start with the negative and why not start with the positive first? As the tartib, the order of the book, as he has a chapter on this, then he brings the negative, masali, the evil manners first, the bad manners that we need to stay away from first. Then the next chapter he brings those.
Rather than do it like that, so we can know the negative part first. After the negative part, then we know the reward for the good work we're supposed to do.
Tayyib. It said, for example, the example that was given to us. If a person, for example, they get dressed in the morning, right? If they're getting dressed to go wherever they're going, whatever type of event, whatever they're going to function, and there's a stain on the clothes, do they put cologne on top of the stain or do you clean the stain off first?
Clean it up.
Right? You don't put cologne on top of a ketchup stain. Right? You clean the stain off, and that's what these are, the negative. You get rid of the negative manners first, and then you take on those positive manners after cleaning off the negative manners of Allah. Tayyib. So these two are in the chapter of the negative manners. Masali al-akhlaq, the evil character traits. Tayyib. An Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu qala. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سباب المسلم فسوق وقتاله كفر متفق عليه. Ibn Mas'ud said that the Prophet ﷺ said سباب المسلم فسوق, to curse a Muslim is fusuq. Now curse needs a little more detail. It doesn't necessitate, it includes, but it's not restricted to curse words like we say, right? As he's going to explain. So the first thing the Prophet ﷺ mentioned And this is a dispraise. This is not a praiseworthy characteristic. These are not praiseworthy things that the Muslim should be taking on. He says, Sibab al-Muslim, يعني شتم al-Muslim. And it says, in one of the explanations, الشتم. It literally, if you look at it, might say curse. But when we say curse, we might think immediately maybe a curse word, like a bad word, right? In English.
Talking about fahish.
It's general. It's a lot of things under the word. It's a lot of things under the word. He's going to give a couple examples. Some of them, a person makes dua against the person. This is one form. And he described these things as being fusuq. So it says, الشتم التكلم في إرض الإنسان بما يعيبه. To speak about a person, sibab, الشتم. To speak about a person, right? And to say something about a person that would embarrass them. That would bring shame if a person looked at him. Right? It bring a negative look to an individual's character. Sibab al-Muslim fusuq. Right? And sibab has a lot of definitions. One of them is this. To speak about a person, to say something about a brother, or say something about a sister, or a sister says something about a sister. Right? That it's an embarrassment to the sister. Right? This is one meaning. Or to call a person out of their name. To call a person out of their name with a disrespectful term. In Arabic it says here, كأنك تقول يا خبيث. يا خبيث. Khabith is like a filthy dirt ball. We don't really call people, but you know. In Arabic, yeah. Khabith. Looks like Khabith. Like real low, real. We might say trifling. Maybe like that. Maybe you might say trifling, depending on what part where you, right? But it's a disrespectful term, right? That the Prophet ﷺ said, when you do this to a person, this is fusuq. To talk about a person, right, and embarrass a person is fusuq. To say something like this, ya khabith, and these are examples. It doesn't necessarily mean a person has to use these words. These are examples. You're basically calling a person out of their name, and it's disrespectful, right? Or this one is a dua, qabbahak Allah, la'anak Allah. This is a dua. A person makes dua, may the curse of Allah be upon you. They say that to a person. They make dua and they say to a person, may the curse of Allah be upon you. This is under sibab. That word that the Prophet ﷺ said, when a person does this, this is fusuq. Or a person says to another person, Ya adu Allah. They call him the enemy of Allah. They refer to their brother as the enemy or their sister as the enemy of Allah. He says, وَمَا أَشْبَهَ ذَلِكَ. And those things that are like that. It's not restricted to those. Those are some examples. He says, وَهَذَا لَا يَجُوزُ فِي حَقِّ الْمُسْلِمِ. This is not permissible to address the Muslims like this. لأن المسلم له حق وله حرمة. Because the Muslim has rights. We have rights over one another, and we have some things that are sacred between each other. There's some sacred things that we hold that the Muslims have between each other that is sacred. It's not allowed, it's not permissible to go against and transgress those specific bounds. So we don't curse a person. We don't say in sibab those things, call them out of their name, talk about them in a way that's going to embarrass them or make them look, put them down, right? Make dua against them, right? The Prophet ﷺ said these things are fusuq. Fusuq. Al-fusuq يعني, he says here, al-khuruj an ta'atillah. That a person has, when they do those things, they have left the obedience of Allah. At that point, they are outside of the obedience of Allah. They have left the obedience of Allah Jalla wa ala, meaning they are disobeying Allah Jalla wa ala. He says, Sibab al-Muslim fusuq. To do these things that we mentioned to a Muslim is fusuq, is disobedience. And that's the meaning of fusuq. And then the Prophet ﷺ said in the second portion of the hadith, in his short but it has a heavy meaning. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ has Jawami al-Kalam. The hadith is short, but it contains a lot of meaning. That to talk to your brother or your sister like that is disobedience to Allah Jalla wa Ala. And this is how easy on the tongue right now, especially in this town, are these things. And the Prophet ﷺ said that these things are fusuq. And then he said, وَقِتَالُهُ كُفْرٌ. قِتَالُهُ كُفْرٌ. To fight your brother or your sister is kufr. Kufr is the word that the Prophet ﷺ used. So what does he mean? Safku damihi kufrun. To spill the blood or shed the blood of another Muslim is kufr. What type of kufr? He'll get to what type of kufr it is. But it shows the seriousness of shedding the blood of another Muslim. He says, "Oh, darbuhu bi ghayri haqq," or to even hit him without having the right to hit him, or to hit her without having the right to hit her. قتاله كفر لأن هذا يشمل الاعتداء على النفس. This includes a person hitting or fighting another Muslim. It includes transgressing the bounds. A person has transgressed on a person. And it also, they have transgressed on their body. They have no right to harm the body of another Muslim. So no person, he says, فَلَا يَجُوزُ لِأَحَدٍ أَن يَتَعَدِّي عَلَيْهِ فِي نَفْسِهِ. So we can't just take it into our own hands and just go off on people, basically, and transgress the bounds. As the Prophet ﷺ said, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said, between every Muslim there are three things that are haram. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned there are three things that are haram between every Muslim. So first, demuhu, his blood. Blood is sacred. It's haram to spill the blood of a Muslim. He says, وَمَالُهُ. The Prophet ﷺ says, secondly, وَمَالُهُ, his money or his wealth or her wealth. We don't have the right just to take a person's wealth. وَإِرْضُهُ, and their honor. The honor has to do with speaking, talking about people. You have the right just to talk about this one because you don't like his kufi, or you don't like what part of the city they're from, or you don't like what country they're from, or you don't like what masjid they go to, or whatever it is. They dress funny to you, right? So we start talking about people. The Prophet ﷺ said those three things between the Muslims are haram. You don't have the right to transgress those bounds, whether it's a person's blood, or their wealth, or their honor. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim, an Abi Hurairah. So when he said, Kitaluhu kufr, they explain this kufr to be not the kufr that means a person is not a Muslim anymore. This kufr is not explained as the kufr that makes a person a disbeliever. As it says, Kitaluhu kufrun, kufrun with a dhammatain, which means that it is general, it's not specific with alif lam, which makes a difference in the meaning of a word in Arabic. Alif lam is on a word, it has a specific meaning. If there's no alif lam on a word, it has a different meaning. In the hadith, there's no alif lam. So he said, هذا منكر فيكون من الكفر الأصغر الذي لا يخرج من الملة. The fact that it doesn't have alif lam, it shows that this kufr, that we would say is disbelief, is not the disbelief that will take a person outside of Islam if they did these things. Not that it's okay. Now, we're not saying that because he's not a disbeliever, it's okay to do it. No, but the ruling on a person, if a person does that, doesn't mean they're a disbeliever based on this hadith. No. Hadith says kufrun, with tanween. And it doesn't say al-kufru. If it said al-kufru, as he says, وَلَمْ يَقُلْ al-kufru, al-mu'arraf bil-alif lam. It doesn't say al-kufru. That would be a different meaning. Either way, it's a major situation that the Prophet ﷺ warned us against. And some even say that the meaning, it means kufru ni'mah, that a person has denied, or they're in denial of the blessing that Islam has given us by behaving like that. in denial of the safety and security and the peace and the tranquility that Islam has given us in the brotherhood, that a person is in denial of that blessing. And if a person was to, as he says, if a person was to say, وَإِذَا اسْتَحَلَّ دَمَهُ صَارَ مِنَ الْكُفْرِ الْأَكْبَرِ, that removes a person from Islam. If a person believes that it is permissible, no, it is permissible to shed the blood of a Muslim or something like this, then this removes it from the minor kufr, minor disbelief, to another level of the major disbelief. So this hadith, فَهَذَا الْحَدِيث فِيهِ حُرْمَةُ الْمُسْلِمِ فِي إِرْضِهِ. This hadith shows that the Muslim has honor, and there's some sacred things to the Muslim in three areas. فِي إِرْضِهِ, in his honor. We don't have the right just to talk about one another based on personal issues. That those things have to be supported. They have to be something supported by the religion. As those things that we find in those sciences like hadith, they would talk about the people who were narrating the hadith in order to protect the hadith from being tampered with. So they would say specifically, okay, the man's a liar. We got to be clear here. The man is known to lie. With all due respect, he's a liar. Or the man, he forgets a lot. His memory is not strong. He has weak memory. Yeah, you're talking about him, but it's for a specific legislated reason, so that the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ would be protected from being tampered with. So we find sometimes they say that he's a kadab, he's this, he has weak memory, his memory is bad, like bad memory. Yeah, it's a negative meaning, but there's certain instances when things have to be said. Or if we know a brother wants to marry a sister, or a sister wants to marry a brother, somebody comes and they ask you about the brother. Do you know the brother? You got to be honest. It's no time, it's not at that time, you have to be honest about what you know about the person. You can't hide something that's going to harm the sister in 6 months. And the sister can't hide something that's going to harm the brother in 6 months. Because you know the brother and you know he wants to get married and, you know, it's your good friend. You're not going to tell the people inquiring about him his reality. No. Now you put harm on the sister down the line. When and they might make the final decision based on what you say. Your statement about this brother might be the final decision if this man is going to marry his daughter to him. You know the brother has a problem, whatever his problem is, you don't say anything. 6 months down the road, 3 months down the road, it's even worse than that. Sometimes next month, the sister's being harmed by that specific thing that you knew and you didn't say anything. Or same thing for the sister. Same thing goes for the sisters. In that case, in the case where there could be harm on someone else, you have to say what it is. But we're talking about generally. We don't just walk around talking about people. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, first in their honor or their blood. The shedding of the blood of the Muslim is sacred. And it is not to be shed, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that those things, that is kufr. Qitaluhu kufr. Tayyib. So all of these things, whether it has to do with a person's honor, a person's blood, a person's wealth, he says, وَأَنَّ الْإِعْتِدَاءَ عَلَيْهِ فِي إِرْضِهِ بِالسَّبِّ وَالشَّتْمِ وَغَيْرُ ذَلِكَ فُسُوقٌ. All of those things, if a person is talking about a person with their tongue, and they have no right to talk about them, all of these things are fusuq, disobedience to Allah Jalla wa'ala. أي خروج عن طاعة الله. And قتاله كفر. طيب. I think we'll stop there for today, inshallah. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll pick up next week with a few of the hadith from the chapter of the positive characteristics that the Muslim should take on, as this will only be a 2 week until Ali comes back. So he'll come back and continue with the Zad al-Mustaqni, Fiqh of Imam Ahmed. I think he finished on the menses. So we'll continue with that when he comes back. But for the sake of benefit, we'll continue next week in the next chapter with the Bab Targhib fi Makarim al-Akhlaq. an encouragement for those positive characteristic traits and those things that are beneficial, or Islamic manners, the positive Islamic manners that we should all take on. Any questions?
You gonna be here Saturday?
No, I think I'll be here Saturday.
Oh, he will?
Yeah,
Oh,
inshallah.
okay.
The Saturday classes will still be on, inshallah. This is just for Mondays, inshallah,
Okay.
until he comes back.
Yeah, like you were talking about, maybe I'm not saying something bad or good, or somebody asking me, sister or brother asking to, or married to another. I got a lot of family, they are not Muslim.
Right.
And I got some friends, they are not Muslim. So one of my sister, she wanted to ask me for one of my friends. Said she want to marry.
Right.
But she's not Muslim and they're not Muslim. So I said, well, I can't talk between her if they're not Muslim. I think that was right. She was asking me how's the guy.
Your sister?
Yeah, one of my family.
Okay.
That's her sister.
One of your family. They're not Muslim.
The other guy, my friend.
One of the guys your friend.
I know him.
Right.
I'm just we too close, but I've been knowing him. So she was asking me as the person.
Right.
So I said, no, I'm a Muslim. And you're not Muslim, so I can't talk too much about your marriage or anything. So I don't know if you're all right.
She's not Muslim?
No.
And he's not Muslim?
No.
They came to you and asked you what?
If she was asking me, she said that the guy she want to marry too. So
What type of guy is he?
the guy not Muslim, you know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
I've been knowing him for some time.
That's your family?
She my family.
She's your family, and she's asking you about marrying a guy that you know.
That person she want to marry now, this believer they can marry first, they have to
They
together all the time before they get married. So she was asking me, she said, I want to marry the guy, but she and myself together for some time. I said, no, I can't be part of that.
Allah
So I
understand.
don't think you're fine from the tell like that. I know she got mad, but
Alhamdulillah, we
The
Muslim.
question is if non-Muslim asks you about someone's character, will you say it or not?
Oh, if a non-Muslim action. There's no restrictions. We're truthful. We're truthful with the kuffar.
but we're not getting married at that point.
We're truthful. If they ask you a question and you know the truth about a person, you tell them the truth. Especially if it's your family. You're not gonna let you, even though she's not Muslim, that don't mean let her marry somebody that might harm her. Right? If he's a good guy, he's a good guy. I mean, that don't mean he might be a good stand-up, go to work, good job. He's not abusive, not on drugs, not what we consider to be good actions, dealing with actions. They might have some problem in their belief. That's what dawah is for. All right? But as a man, if he can handle a man, and she's not Muslim in the first place, then you tell him the truth that you know about the person. Stand-up guy, seem to be truthful to me, job, take care of the responsibilities. I don't want to be abusive. Don't do drugs, alcohol, standard stuff. For the family member, it don't mean that you have to, perform the marriage or anything like that. But somebody come here and ask a question, you're not going to marry whoever it is, brother, sister, cousin, to a serial killer or, big time drug dealer. You're going to say, nah, he's not cool. And it doesn't mean that if it's not your family asking you that you hide it. Whatever the case may be, if a person comes, they ask you a question, unless you see it to be some harm. If you see that you answering the question might harm or cause more harm in the situation, at that point you might, decline to answer or not get involved. But generally, people they come to you and ask you, do you know this brother? I'm thinking about marrying my sister to this brother. You know the brother has a problem. You gonna put my sister in danger because that's your friend? Just like that. Allahu Akbar. So next week, inshallah, we'll do a few ahadith from the chapter of Makarim al-Akhlaq. The good mannerisms and the good conduct that we should be taking on and adorning ourselves as Muslims. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam.
We got some food in there, some rice.
Huh?
We got some rice in there.
جزاك الله خير شكرا بارك الله فيك